Oh, hello there. I didn't see you. Anyway, jokes aside, welcome to the vid, and this time round, I'm gonna go a bit off script and do something a bit more rough and help explain how to breed perfect Tems in the game with egg moves. Without sacrificing any fertility, as little fertility sacrifice as possible, so that you can make a big army full of Tems with your egg moves and make a decent amount of money out of it at the same time. So, we're going to do that using the help of this wonderful perfect Tem breeding chart that I did not make. Full credit goes to the people who designed this, or person who designed this. You can see their little insignia down the bottom here. But I am going to use it as a visual aid of sorts. And we're going to do this using a bit of color to help explain how we're going to go about this process. And the Tem that I've chosen will not be little Kaku down here, unfortunately, but rather Pig Epic. My guinea pig, very fitting. And for those that don't know, Pig Epic has 3 different egg moves that it can learn. Hypnosis, Head Charge, and Sharp Rain. Now, if you were to try and breed a Pig Epic and get all 3 of these egg moves onto the final product, you might think, that's a bit of a pain, isn't it? It's going to take a while, it might be hard to do. Not necessarily. Stick around and we're going to go through the process from start to finish using this chart and breed a whole bunch of pigs without losing any fertility, and they're going to have all of their egg moves. Now, we've decided on our pig. First up, we take a look at the egg moves that it has available to it, and we determine how we're going to go about breeding those egg moves on, because the best place to start with breeding egg moves is always going to be in Tier 1. On either side, Tier 1 on either side, so I've marked the tiers up the top here, Tier 1, 2, 3, and 4, so that you know what I'm talking about when I mention tiers. And to begin with, let's look at Sharp Rain. Now, Sharp Rain is a water type ability that is only learned naturally in the game so far by Ukama, or Yumishi, but that species alone are the only ones that learn this attack. And so, first and foremost, can we even breed an Ukama with a Pig Epic? Well, no. Ukama is water type, Pig Epic is wind type. They can't breed. So are we stuck already? Well, no, of course not. What we need is what I like to call a Tem Delivery Man. We need a Delivery Tem who is able to take the Sharp Rain ability from Ukama and train it across to Pig Epic. And so we look at water types that can also breed with Pig Epic. That happens to be Whiplumps, because they're water and wind type. So, first and foremost, I'm going to use an example. Let's say, hypothetically, that you caught an Attack SV Ukama. I'm going to mark him up here as a nice deep blue. That's Ukama right here. He has the Attack SV and he has Sharp Rain. So next, we want to breed this Ukama with Whiplump, this nice green right here. Which means we do need to catch the appropriate Whiplumps that match up with whatever values we have. If you did, by chance, catch a HP Ukama, then you just need to get the Stamina version Whiplump. And vice versa for any of the other Tier 1s on the other side as well. You can do this, you can start at any side, but basically it's easier just to pick the Ukama or the Whiplump and then grab the appropriate partner for it and begin breeding at Tier 1. So, we have bred the Ukama and Whiplump together. It is very important that the Whiplump, which is who we want to be the carrier, is the female in this breeding process. Because we want the baby, the product, which is this Tier 2 over here, this needs to be the Whiplump with Sharp Rain equipped to it. And this particular baby in Tier 2 has to be male. And I'll explain why now. Because this Tem down here, this little speed one, is going to be our first Pig Epic in the breeding process. And naturally, if this Whiplump up here, that I'm pinging pink on right there, if this is a female, then it's just going to keep breeding Whiplumps down the breeding line, and we don't want that. So this Ukama, male, and this Whiplump down here, female. But their baby in Tier 2 has to be male. Now, because this is only the first breeding process, it's only going to cost 2,000 Pansuns. Ukamas and Whiplumps are plentiful at the C note, you can grab a whole bunch of these and just start breeding until you get a male 2SV Whiplump that has the Sharp Rain taught onto it. Once you have your male Whiplump at tier 2, you then breed it with your female pig with speed, and then lo and behold, over here at tier 3, we're going to have a pig epic that has Sharp Rain on it. Easy peasy, right? Now, I've already skipped over this, but I'm going to quickly mention it now. The second egg move that pig epic can learn, Head Charge, is learned by Whiplump. Wow, amazing. So, assuming that your Whiplumps over here were well trained and already had the Head Charge move, you have traded 2 egg moves onto this pig epic at tier 3, this one here, already. It's already done. This pig epic has 2 out of 3. It's already on a good start. Now, jumping over to the final egg move in the process is Hypnosis. Now, I've already gone ahead and done some of the looking up myself, but if you want to do this, the best way is to look at the ability. So we know Hypnosis. You click on Hypnosis on the wiki or on the online thing that you're looking at, on the wiki probably, and you take a look at any Tems that learn it naturally. And the first one on the list is the Pajaro family. Pajaro, Paharak, Grandpa, those guys. They are also wind. So, right off the bat, they can breed with Pig Epic. That makes this very easy. Which means that either this little guy down here, this little guy here, or any of the other tier 1s, they can be Paharos, or Paharaks, that family. They can be any of that family. Find one of those that match these SVs. It learns Hypnosis at level 5, so it's not hard to get a hold of Hypnosis on a Pajaro. And then find the appropriate partner pig epic to breed with it. So I'm going to go back to pink over here, and we're going to say that we have a stamina pig epic down here to breed with the Pajaro up the top, the red one. Those two breed together, and now this pig epic down here, the HP and stamina one in tier 2, has Hypnosis taught onto it. Fantastic. Now, this speed that I'm going to dot a little black in the middle of, that one there was already used in the breeding process, assuming that all of your Tems, to do this optimally, all of your Tems need to have 7 fertility at the beginning of the breeding process. We don't want to waste any fertility in this whatsoever. But, once you've bred the first time with this speed Tem in the middle here, it will have 6 fertility left, which is perfectly fine. You can reuse this middle speed Tem. Same goes for this one over here if you were doing the other side. It starts at 7, it goes down to 6, it doesn't matter, because these Tems that it breeds with will always end up with 5 SVs anyway. The tier 3s will have 5 SVs no matter what. So don't worry about reusing the speed Tem in the middle here. It's always going to have, you know, diminished fertilities, don't worry about it. But, regardless, I'm getting on a tangent here. Once we've bred the HP and stamina pig with the speed pig, we're going to end up with this one here in tier 3, the bottom section of tier 3, and he has Hypnosis. Now, I'm going to go ahead, hopefully this is still keyed in correctly, give me some color. Right. HC, and what was the other one that we had? Sharp Rain. Cool. So, what we have, as I'm going to try and mark this in, Pig Epic at the top of tier 3 has Head Charge and Sharp Rain on him thanks to the beginning process up the top with the Whiplump and the Ukama. And the bottom pig has Hypnosis thanks to the Pajaro that we've bred. These two, this right here is where you can get messed up with gender RNG. I would say regardless of what gender the top one, because it's the most complicated, it has 2 egg moves and it involves 2 other separate species Tems. Whatever this turns out, just leave it there, you've got it, it's not a hard thing to resolve at all. If this is male and then your second one also ended up as male, just go back and rebreed this Hypnosis one. Pajaros aren't hard to get, and you can just start again and breed up this line. But once we end up with tier 3, able to be bred, what we then come to is a tier 4 Pig Epic with Head Charge, Sharp Rain, and Hypnosis on it. It has all of the egg moves, it is ready. And if you keep track of the fertility usage, if all of our Tems in tier 1 start with 7, and the speed starts at 7 too, so they all go from 7 Tier 2 has 6. Let me get a marker here. These guys start at 7. These guys end up at 6. Once they're bred, 5. And then once they get to Tier 4, they'll have 4 fertility left. So all of the Tems, this 5 SV Tem has to have 4 fertility. Let me get rid of those dots. After this, it's a simple process of repeating the breeding on the other side, all the way down until you get to your 5 SV Pig Epic. Now, once you have your second 5 SV Pig Epic on this side, hopefully, if the gender RNG gods have been on your side, both of the genders will match up and you can begin properly breeding perfects. But if that isn't the case, and it can happen, you can attempt to trade. It is easier to trade Tems that don't have egg moves because not a lot of people always want to trade away their egg move Tems. If this is a 5 SV female Pig Epic, for example, try and trade it on the Discord server or on any other trading third-party area that you often use. There are sites that do trading and purchases. I use the Discord personally. You can get trades. Don't worry about it first. You can get trades. But if you're impatient or you've tried and you have no luck, you can rebreed the branch. It's not going to be that big a deal. If everything goes according to plan by the end of my explanation, you'll be turning a profit even if you had to rebreed the branch. It's okay. You can rebreed it. Point is, once you've gotten your 5 SV Pig Epic here, male and female, you breed together. Perfect pig down here at the bottom. Now this perfect pig has all 3 egg moves, 7 out of 7 SVs. This is the ultimate piggy. He is God Pig. And the important thing now is to remember Tier 4 over here. Tier 4 had 4 fertility left each. So breed that out. Use all 4 of your breeds. So what you'll end up with is 4 perfect pigs. And I'm going to go over here to this second tab that I've made. And I'm going to reduce that size for a start. And we're going to start marking in the babies that are born out of this. And we have baby A, baby B, I'll fix that in a second, C, and D. Let's line that up and make it look a little prettier. Right. Actually, come over here. Now, the first baby that those parents bred, the 5 SV parents, they had 4 fertility left to begin with, if you recall. 4 and 4, so the first baby has 3 fertility. That's going to be baby A. So baby A over here has 3 fertility above him. Baby A is 3 fertility. Baby B, the second one. Now, once the parents have bred once, their fertility drops down to 3 total. They breed a second time. So the second baby has 2 fertility. And you can see the pattern here. The third time that they breed, they're going to end up with 1 fertility. And then baby D, unfortunately, is the guy that misses out. He has 0 fertility left. He is just finished. Baby D doesn't really get to do anything, but we'll move him off to the side here and remember his existence because we can't forget him, otherwise we'll be missing out on a number at the end. Now, here's where it gets, well, a little bit complicated in terms of breeding for numbers in order to make profit. A lot of people don't understand how breeding can make a profit, and the answer to that is exhausting your fertility, mass breeding, getting as much out of this as possible. We already have the benefit that our pig epics that we've bred, all of these pigs have all 3 of the egg moves, and we'll just have them forever, and any offspring that they produce will have the egg moves as well. Now, because perfect 7 SV Tems have full 50s in all of their SVs, if you breed 2 perfect Tems with each other, you don't need to use any of those expensive 5,000 Pansun costing DNA gear items. It will just trade over automatically. Much like, if we go back to the flowchart, when you're breeding the, for example, let me get my brush back, this side here and this side here, you only need to use Mighty and Vigor DNAs, because they both share speed. Now, how come the speed transfers over from these two without needing anything to trade it? Well, it's because they're already maxed out. 250s, there's no in between, it will always be maxed. Which is the beauty of breeding perfect Temtems. Ideally, and this won't always happen, but hear me out, this is the ideal. ideally, I'm going to put these here. If you're ahead of me, you already know what I'm getting at. Ideally, let's say that baby A was born a girl, it's female. Baby B and C were both born male. What can we now do with this setup? Well, we can breed them all with each other. So there's 3 fertility here, these guys are males, they can breed with the female. Reverse the genders, it's fine. If this was a male and then B and C were both female, you can do the same thing. It all works out either way. Get rid of those for a second. Now that would mean that we can breed out 3 extra babies. So let's say baby A and B both have a baby, and that's baby E. But they can breed out twice, so they have another one, and that would be baby F. Now, there's the offspring of A and B. A can also have a baby with C. That's baby G. I apologize if you hate letters. Oh my god, please. Thank you. Baby G over here. Now, when they first bred, A and B, it's going to inherit the fertility of the lowest parent, and that would be B at the time. B drops down to 1 fertility, so baby E over here... What the hell did I just do? My bad, I almost deleted baby E. Baby E... I'm sorry, can you tell this isn't rehearsed? Baby E has 1 fertility. Baby F will have 0 fertility. As will baby G. Sad, right? So we're left with baby E who has 1 fertility, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 perfect SV Tems at the end of a single breeding process that we went over with back at this chart here. But we have a fertility left. Now that's ideal. What if you were unlucky and both babies A and B were male and only C was female? You could only breed once, and there's a whole bunch of fertility being wasted. Well, that's where the secret comes in that a lot of breeders often do to try and turn as much profit as possible. You come back and you rebreed an entire second batch. And it's worth mentioning right now that if you want to push this even further, you can go back to tier 3 over here and rebreed the tier 3 sides and make brand new 5 SV Tems here, and then rebreed them. They'll have 3 fertility this time round, but that's fine. You'll be breeding more perfects, and you'll get some more fertility to use, and potentially breed out little baby E down here if you got lucky. I wouldn't go any further back than tier 3, rebreeding tiers 1 and 2 to continue trying to exhaust fertility. I'm pretty sure you begin losing money at one point, especially considering that gender RNG can still mess you over. If you want to be safe, don't even necessarily have to worry about the tier 3s, you can just go back and restart from scratch and do everything from the beginning again. You can go back and rebreed the egg moves onto, say, the pig epics if you're going to continue breeding pig epics. There is no danger in that, like I've covered. Breeding these egg moves onto a pig epic is not a risk in any way. The only thing that can go wrong is gender RNG, and that can happen whether or not you're using egg moves or not. Pigs aren't always going to come out exactly the way you want, nothing ever will. It's just a roll of the die, basically. So rebreed this entire process all over again, and you'll get another set of A, B, C, and D Tems. A whole new batch of 7 SVs. And then you breed those A, Bs, and Cs together and repeat the process that we have down here. Let me get my brush. And let me get a color that stands out. You'll be able to rebreed all the way down and get this result over again, with a whole new batch of 7 Tems. And ideally, if you weren't able to breed all of the Tems on the first pass, so these guys didn't end up the genders that you want, you rebreed a second batch, and then you have a new amount. So say you had A, B, and C from the first pass of breeding that you did, and I should have done this to begin with, because colors are nice. Let's say the very first time that you bred your pig epics, the final batch turned out like this. Female, female, male. It means that this E, F, and G didn't exist. Let me get rid of those, actually. Get rid of E. Actually, I can do that easier, can't I? Get rid of you, get rid of you. Get rid of you. Done. First pass, this is what you got. Second pass. I realise what I've done. Shut up. And then H over here. So because it's an exact identical rebreed of what you did the first time round, H sits over here in the 0 fertility crew. It has no fertility left. It's a loner. G is over here with 1 fertility, F is over here with 2 fertility, and E is with 3 fertility. Now, let's assume instead that this guy was born male, this guy was born male, and I really shouldn't have done that, but this one was born female. I forgot to fix the colors, because I'm bad. And now you understand what the idea is that you have all of these different Tems that can interbreed with each other. I get it, I get it. I haven't selected the right thing. Cool. There we go. Now, this is the result of 2 batches of breeding. Once you have bred both batches, you're looking at this and you go, right, I have a female and a male, they both have 3 fertility, breed it out. You then get 3 different Tems. So these guys breed, and at this point, I'm just going to pick a different color, and rather than confuse you with more and more and more numbers and letters, well, more letters at least, I'm just going to jump straight to nice dark, where's a dark green? Actually, no, give me a purple. Give me a purple. There we go. So, we have babies A and E breed. We then end up with... Why isn't it purple? Be purple. Thank you. A and E breed, and we get little AE babies. 1, 2, and 3. Click off. The same as what I explained before. A and E breed. First baby has 2 fertility. Second baby has 1 fertility. This one has 0 fertility. It comes over here. It's basically finished. If babies 1 and 2 had correct gender ratios and they can breed with each other, they can reproduce and make more babies. And then as the fertility runs out, just move them over here. They've run out of fertility. Female, female, male, male. Hey, look, males and females can breed different people together. You can potentially breed these 2 together, these 2 together. They make babies, breed the fertility out. And by the end of it, what you will find is you have... Let me tally through and count for you. You will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, assuming these guys bred 12, 13, 14, about 15 or 16 Tems, unless I'm miscounting. 15 to 16, and that's including the idea that with this kind of unfortunate gender ratio turnout, you can still produce about 16 to 17 perfect Tems. In an ideal world, if all of this gender stuff lined up perfectly, you can breed up to somewhere about 20 Tems. I'm just skipping the process of going through all of the letters and numbers for you because it's going to become complicated. At that stage, let me get rid of these green dots. You have bred enough pig epics that you can reliably sell them for, I think, 12k minimum, and you'll be turning a profit. That means that anyone who doesn't necessarily care about friendship pig epics, because that is the worst of the 2 traits currently for competitive mode, you can still sell them for dirt cheap at about 15, 16k, and you'll still turn a good profit. The Fainted Curse pig epics you can sell for, with 3 egg moves, easily between 30 and 40, maybe even upwards of 50k. I'm not sure with the market. It goes up and down depending on the tier lists. Minimum you can sell them for is at least 30k. You'll be turning a much bigger profit. Let me just pull that up for a second. At 30,000, let's be realistic and say if you bred 16 pigs, let's say half of them ended up being Fainted Curse. If half of them were Fainted Curse, 8 pig epics with 3 egg moves and Fainted Curse, perfect SVs, selling at 30,000 each, you're turning a profit of 240,000. Well, you're earning 240,000. Let's hypothetically say, now that you've finished that, you've spent about 150k. Yeah. 150k breeding 2 batches. You bred 2 batches of Tems, 150k. You've got 2 different batches, that is represented over here. And these guys all bred with each other. So just by selling 8 Fainted Curse Pig Epics, you made 200 and, what did I say, 40? By breeding these, you've made 240,000 Pansun. That's a profit of 90,000 Pansun, not including the other 8, which you can still sell for cheap. I've already mentioned already that if you can sell them for anywhere between 12k, 12,000 by 8 is, goodness, let me take a look, 96k. So that's an extra 96k. If you can manage to sell those other 4 pigs, you're looking at a profit of 180k just from breeding this process from start to finish. You can keep one of the pigs for yourself if you're looking to keep one. Other than that, this is how you end up making bigger money. Now, once again, on the second phase, like I said, you can go back and breed tier 4s. You're meant to breed them until they're empty, but you can rebreed tier 3 on both passes. So once you've bred out tier 4 and you have your 7 perfect Tems, breed out tier 3s and hopefully you get your tier 4s to match up gender-wise, and you'll have exponentially more breeding material that way. If tier 3s breed out and you get good gender RNG, you'll be able to make anywhere between 25 or about 25 or so perfect Tems, I think, is realistic. In which case, you're making a lot more money by doing that. A lot more money. Then you just come back to the gender and fertility thing that I've got over here, and you breed down. Keep breeding down. Female and male, these guys can breed. Female and male, hey look, these guys can breed. And then these guys can breed. Keep breeding them down until you hit 0, because every time these guys breed, every time perfects breed with each other, you're not spending 5,000 Pansun to breed with the DNA gear. It just costs the 50 for basic breeding. It's not going to break your bank. It's almost like duplicating. It's essentially duplicating whatever Tem that you're breeding them with, and you're just getting free money out of it, basically. Well, it's costing you 50, but you're making money in the process. That's where you make your money back. You're not making money by doing all of this necessarily, because this is where all the expense comes in. One single flawless pass of breeding Tems from both pathways costs, I think, about, what was it, 63k for the first pass, and then 150k for both, I believe. It's not cheap, but if you breed 2 passes, or even just the 1 pass, and you breed all of them together, that's where you make your money back. That's where you're going to be able to make cash. It's also worth me mentioning right now that something very important for you guys to remember is to pick Tems that have market value. If you pick up a Tem that people aren't interested in and you start mass breeding it, you're going to be sitting on them for a while. I'm not saying don't breed them, because there is always someone looking for certain Tems, but there is risk and reward involved in this. It's not just gender RNG. You run the risk of producing Tems that people don't want to buy. At the same time, I recommend potentially avoiding Tems that you know are already flooding the market. We know from last week with the Psy Park that Rybers are now very common. We know that Gialis is very common. We know that Kinu is very common. There are competitive Tems that everyone wants to have a hold of, and the markets for selling those can become quite hard to break into, and you might have a hard time making sales. With all of that said, I apologize. Coming to the end of this, I apologize for wrapping everything up, that it was kind of unscripted and very raw, and I stumbled upon what I was saying a fair bit. This is something I know that there are others who have done things like this. They've broken down breeding and egg moves. This is just my own little stupid, unique way of trying to show it, using a bit of color and using the breeding charts, so that some people who may have gotten confused before might be able to understand the process of perfect breeding, mass perfect breeding to make a profit, as well as implementing egg moves, and make it a bit easy for them to understand, and so they can get into it themselves. I would recommend that if you're looking at doing a big mass breeding project like this, that you maybe come with, oh goodness, about, I'm going to estimate 180. Start with about 180,000 Pansuns before you go into this, just as a blanket, a little buffer, a safety net if you would, because it can become quite expensive very quickly, and until you can sell your product, until you can start actually selling all of these Tems that you're potentially making, you've spent. You need to recoup your losses at the end, and so a lot of people will often breed themselves broke and then be stuck relying on selling their product in order to make back money. I recommend having a bit of a safety net before you get into something like this, just in case. Also worth mentioning, be very, very careful about which Tems you're breeding due to gender differences. Certain Tems like Rybas, Kinus, and Ociaras don't all come even. They're not all 50-50 male-female ratio. Some of them have very bad odds at what they can end up being, and that makes mass breeding like this an absolute nightmare. Because before you know it, babies A, B, C, and E, F, and G, all of them can end up, one gender, or all but one, 5 females and 1 male, and that makes it very hard to turn a profit. So that is something to be aware of when it comes to the gender differences. Besides that, I think, hopefully I have covered everything I wanted to mention in this little mini guide, this process of how to breed multiple amounts of perfect Tems in a single go using 2 different batches of breeding, applying egg moves to your Tem. Wait, no, very last thing. I did mention that you can breed, say for example, the Pajaro and the Pig Epic. That's how you will breed Tems together that share a similar type. It's as simple as breed them together, but make sure that the Tem you want to actually come out, the Pig Epic in this time, is the female. If you're breeding a male pig and a female Pajaro, you're just going to end up with a Pajaro over here, and before you know it, what happens if this over here ended up being a Pajaro instead of a pig? It's kind of ruined everything. And secondly, the process up here with Ukama and Whiplump is the ideal kind of strategy that you want to go for in terms of trading egg moves over to Tems that don't already share type similarities. Find the common denominator. Whiplump in this picture is the common denominator because he shares both the water with Ukama and the wind with Pig Epic. That's the idea that you want to go with. There are Tems, I don't know if there's more than one. I do know that currently Scale can learn the Oshidashi move, which, funny enough, comes from Pig Epic. It is a melee type attack, but there is currently physically no way for Scale to be taught this ability with the Tems that we have available in the game at the moment. We have to wait for new Tems to be added, and hopefully one of them is either a wind melee type or a wind neutral type, so that it can breed with a Scale and trade the Oshidashi move over. Bear that in mind. If you have trouble figuring out how to trade egg moves over, like which in-between Tem there might be, feel free to ask on the Discords, feel free to ask on forums, feel free to ask anyone. There is a thriving community in the Discord, and they're usually willing to help you if you're nice about it. Don't feel ashamed to ask questions. I spent about 30 minutes going over that previously mentioned Scale Oshidashi problem in my head, trying to figure out how am I gonna do this. I gave up, I asked the Discord, they filled me in that it's impossible, I hung my head in shame. I could have gotten past that issue a lot sooner if I just asked. With all of that said and done, thank you very much for checking this out. I pray that I have not made this any more complicated for people to understand than it kind of already is in a sense. This is just a different take on explaining the process. A lot of other people have explained the exact same thing. I strongly recommend checking their videos out if you want to get a different perspective on how to do this process. If you do it smartly and correctly, it can make you a lot of money, it can make you a whole bunch of Tems, and it's not as difficult as it seems to be. You just have to keep trying at it and it will work out eventually. Thank you very much. Have a good one. I'll see you next time.